Jake, after 17 years, we're eliminating your position, my boss said flatly. Clean out your desk by end of day. My name's Jake Wilson, 54 years old, and until that Monday morning, Senior Systems Analyst at Meridian Technologies in Columbus, Ohio. For almost 2 decades, I'd been the backbone of the IT department. From the dial-up days to cloud migration, 3 CEOs had come and gone while I stayed put, training every new hire, recovering every lost file, working through weekends and holidays without asking for a promotion or pat on the back. So when Daniel called me into his office with Vanessa from HR already seated, I knew before he opened his mouth. The air had changed weeks ago. I understand completely, I said, nodding once. I walked out without another word. No anger, no pleading, just quiet acknowledgement. Back at my desk, I watched younger employees glance my way, then quickly look down at their screens. News travels fast. Most of them were coders I'd trained myself. Good kids, but they had no idea what was actually built into our systems or how the older architecture worked. None of them could navigate the custom software I'd written or the admin credentials buried 3 layers deep in every system. I began packing my personal items methodically. Family photo. Coffee mug my son made in high school. The small cactus that somehow survived 17 years under fluorescent lighting. Bethany from marketing stopped by, her face tight with concern. Jake, I just heard. This is ridiculous. You practically built this place. I shrugged. Companies change direction. But without any warning after everything you've done? Her voice was rising, drawing attention. It's fine, I said quietly. Really? It wasn't fine, but I wasn't going to make a scene. As I was leaving, Daniel stepped out of his office to watch me go. No goodbye, no handshake, just surveillance to make sure I actually left. What none of them had bothered to pay attention to over the years was that I had become the most critical person in the entire building. Not because I was exceptional, but because I was thorough. I documented everything, set up secure audit protocols years ago to track unauthorized access by request of the legal team during a past scandal. I also had copies in my car. I sat for a moment, looking back at the 12-story building where I'd spent most of my adult life. The security badge I just surrendered had been renewed 16 times. I started the engine and drove home. They had no idea Wednesday would be fun. Asterisk, I'd been with Meridian since it was just 2 floors in a business park. Started when my daughter, Olivia, was in kindergarten. Now she was finishing grad school. The company grew, and I grew with it. Turned down offers from competitors because loyalty mattered to me. My wife, Andrea, used to joke that the servers were my second family. She wasn't. Entirely wrong. I knew every system, every workaround, every backdoor solution to problems the executives didn't even know existed. The infrastructure I'd built had survived 3 acquisitions and countless innovations that management embraced then abandoned months later. Daniel became my boss 5 years ago. Young MBA type who called our department IT resources instead of people. He had ideas about streamlining, efficiency, digital transformation, buzzwords that usually meant doing more with less. At first, I tried to help him understand our systems, the complexity buried under years of growth and adaptation that we need to future-proof. He'd say in meetings, looking right past me, 6 months ago, he brought in a consultant named Jason Phillips. Expensive suit, firm handshake, Stanford degree displayed prominently on his LinkedIn profile. They'd huddle in conference rooms, speaking quietly whenever I walked by. 3 months ago, I noticed my access permissions being quietly modified. Nothing obvious, just small changes to administrative controls. I could have protested, but instead, I watched, documented. You seem distracted lately, Andrea said one night as we sat on the porch. Is everything okay at work? I nodded, sipping my beer. Just changes. Nothing I haven't seen before. But these changes felt different. I was being sidelined in meetings. Emails about system upgrades stopped including me. Younger team members were assigned to projects I would normally handle. Then I found it. A company-wide memo about modernization initiatives that had never been shared with me. It outlined a complete restructuring of the IT department under new leadership, Jason Phillips. My position wasn't even on the organizational chart. That same day, I discovered something else. While running a routine security scan, one of those background tasks no one else bothered with anymore, I noticed unusual patterns in our financial software. Regular transfers to a vendor I didn't recognize, Apex Solutions Group. A quick search showed it was registered just last year, with a business address that led to a UPS store. The authorized payments had started small but were growing each month. I didn't say anything, just noted it, copied the records, and continued watching. Sometimes the quiet man in the corner sees everything, precisely because everyone thinks he sees nothing. Asterisk, the morning after I was let go, I sat in my home office, staring at my personal laptop. No alarm had woken me. No commute waited, just silence and the weight of what had happened. Andrea brought me coffee, placing it beside me without a word. After 19 years of marriage, she knew when I needed space. "I'm going to the store," she said eventually. "Need anything?" I shook my head. After she left, I unlocked the bottom drawer of my desk and pulled out a flash drive, one of several I kept secure. Company policies strictly prohibited removing data, but years ago, when the legal team needed an audit system for tracking potential insider threats, I'd been clear about needing offsite backups. They'd signed off on it, then promptly forgotten. I plugged it in and began reviewing the files, internal emails, meeting minutes I shouldn't have had access to, financial records that normal employees would never see. There it was, a full history of payments to Apex Solutions Group, nearly $1.8 million over 18 months. The approval chain led directly to our CFO, Brian Wilcox. I dug deeper, cross-referencing dates and figures until the pattern emerged. The payments aligned perfectly with a series of software license renewals for systems we used company-wide, but the amounts were inflated, sometimes by 15%, sometimes by 20%. Small enough not to raise immediate flags, large enough to add up. Pulled up the business registration for Apex Solutions Group. The listed owner was Thomas Wilcox. A quick social media search confirmed what I suspected: Brian's brother-in-law. They were siphoning company funds through fake markup on legitimate expenses. I leaned back in my chair, feeling something shift inside me. Not anger exactly, something colder, more focused. For 17 years, I'd solved problems, fixed systems, protected data. I'd been the reliable one, the steady presence who never caused waves, and they discarded me like outdated hardware. My phone buzzed with a text from Steven, a junior analyst I'd mentored over the past 2 years. "Sorry about yesterday. Total BS what they did. Phillips is already moving into your old office." I set the phone down without responding. The pieces all fit now. Daniel and the CFO needed me gone before anyone could connect the dots on their scheme. They probably thought the evidence would disappear with me, that I was just some aging tech guy who didn't understand modern finance. I opened my email and began drafting a message to the board of directors, then stopped, finger hovering over the send button. Too direct, too easy to dismiss as the bitter accusations of a fired employee. I needed leverage, precision, a way to expose the fraud that couldn't be ignored or covered up. I deleted the draft and started making plans. Tomorrow was Wednesday, board meeting day. Quarterly financials would be presented. Bonuses would be approved. Perfect timing. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. For 2 weeks, Haley barely spoke to me. She went to her parents' house alone, came back with red eyes and new doubts. I threw myself into work, spending long hours in my studio, waiting for the storm to pass. Then a package arrived for me. No return address. Just my name scrawled across the top in unfamiliar handwriting. Inside was a USB drive and a note. You should see this. Finesse of the drive contained video files. Home security footage from Gerald and Diane's house. The timestamps showed the night of the dinner. There was Diane in the kitchen, clearly adding something to a drink. There was me entering, taking the glasses. There was Gerald drinking from the tampered glass, but there was more footage from after we'd left. Diane screaming at Gerald, blaming him for drinking from the wrong glass. Gerald yelling back, "This isn't the first time you've done something like this." I watched the footage 3 times, trying to process what I was seeing, not just confirmation of Diane's actions, but evidence of a pattern. Evidence that Gerald knew. The next file was from 2 days after the dinner. Diane and Gerald argued in their living room about me. "He knows what you did," Gerald said. "So what?" Diane replied, "It's his word against mine. Haley will never choose him over family. And if she does, then she's not the daughter I raised." Then came the most chilling part. "Don't worry," Diane said coldly. "I've already started talking to her about their marriage problems. Planting seeds. By the time I'm done, she'd be filing for divorce and thinking it was her idea." I shut my laptop, hands shaking. This wasn't just about me. This was a systematic effort to control Haley's life, to isolate her from anyone who didn't fit their vision. And they'd been doing it for years. I called Vanessa immediately. "Why did you send this to me?" "Because they did the same thing to me when I married Owen," she said quietly. "They tried to break us up for 2 years. Said I wasn't good enough. It almost worked. Why didn't you tell us?" "Owen doesn't know," she admitted. "He worships his father, believes everything he says. I've tried to tell him, but he thinks I'm paranoid. I just couldn't watch them do it to someone else." The next day, I received a text from Gerald. "We should talk, man to man." Number. Wives. I met him at his country club. He was waiting in a private room, drinking bourbon. "Julian," he began, "families are complicated. My wife, she can be difficult, protective, but she means well." "Drugging someone means well?" I asked. He waved his hand dismissively. "A misunderstanding. Diane takes medication for anxiety. She probably mixed up the glasses. I have the security footage, Gerald." His face changed, instantly hardening into something cold and calculating. "What do you want? Money? Is that what this is about?" "I always knew you married Haley for financial reasons. I want you both to leave us alone," I said simply. "Stop trying to convince Haley I'm not good enough. Stop interfering in our marriage." Gerald leaned forward. "You think this is the first time we've dealt with someone like you? People who want to take advantage of our family." He laughed. "Haley will come home where she belongs. She always does. Ask her about Thomas. Ask her about the fiancé before you." I felt cold. "What are you talking about?" "Haley was engaged before she met you. Nice guy, doctor. We didn't like his background. Took us 6 months to convince her he was wrong for her. She broke it off. Came home crying to Daddy." He smiled. "History repeats, son." On the drive home, I called Haley's college roommate. "Bethany? Thomas?" she said. "Oh God, that was awful. He was perfect for her. But her parents, they convinced her he was cheating, planted evidence. He tried to tell her the truth, but by then she didn't trust him anymore." The pattern was clear now. This wasn't just about me. It was about control, complete control over their daughter's life. And they'd done it before. I didn't confront Haley immediately. Instead, I started gathering every piece of evidence I could find. I reached out to Thomas, who was initially reluctant to speak with me. But when I explained the situation, he sent me old emails between him and Haley showing how her parents had systematically undermined their relationship, contacted other ex-boyfriends, old friends of Haley's who'd mysteriously drifted away. A pattern emerged. Anyone who encouraged Haley's independence was gradually pushed out of her life. Vanessa provided more security footage. Diane and Gerald discussing their plans for us. Once they divorce, Gerald said in one clip, we'll convince her to move back home. She can run the foundation, meet suitable men. I compiled everything onto a single drive. Then I invited Owen and Vanessa over for dinner without telling Haley. After dessert, I connected my laptop to the TV. There's something you both need to see, I said. For the next hour, we watched the footage together. Haley sat motionless, her face pale. Owen kept shaking his head, muttering, "That's not my parents," under his breath. When it was over, Haley turned to me with tears streaming down her face. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because I needed you to see for yourself," I said. "All of it. Not just what they did to me, but what they've been doing to you. Your entire life." Owen stood up, furious. You've edited these videos. My parents wouldn't do this." Vanessa touched his arm. "They did it to us too, Owen. Why do you think they suddenly started liking me after we had James? Because a grandchild meant they had leverage." The color drained from Owen's face. "You never told me." "I tried," she whispered. "You wouldn't listen." Later that night, Haley crawled into bed beside me. "I need time to process this," she said softly, "but I believe you. And I'm sorry I doubted you." The next morning, Diane called Haley. "Put her on speaker," I said. "Darling," Diane chirped. "I was thinking you should come stay with us for a while. Your father and I are worried about you. Marriage is hard, and sometimes separation can give clarity." "Mom," Haley interrupted, her voice steady, "I've seen the videos." Silence. Then, "What videos?" Diane asked, suddenly cautious. "The security footage of you drugging Julian's drink. Of you and Dad plotting to break up my marriage." Another pause. "Haley, whatever he's shown you has been manipulated. You know Julian has always been jealous of our family." "Stop," Haley said firmly. "We're coming over tonight. All of us. Owen, Vanessa, Julian, and me. We're going to talk about this. As a family. No more lies." After she hung up, Haley turned to me. "They'll deny everything. They'll try to turn this around on you." I nodded. "I know. So what's our plan?" "For the first time in weeks," I said, smiling, "I think it's time your parents met the real me. The one who doesn't just take photos but knows how to tell a story." Asterisk asterisk that night, we arrived at Gerald and Diane's house with my camera equipment. Owen and Vanessa were already there, sitting stiffly in the living room. Gerald seemed confident. "I understand there's been a misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding," I interrupted, setting up my tripod. "I'm documenting this conversation for the family archives." Diane objected. That afternoon, I received job offers from 2 competing firms, both for positions well above my previous role, both offering substantial signing bonuses. Word had gotten around about my sudden availability. I ignored them for now. This wasn't about finding another job. It was about finishing what they had started that night. Using credentials that should have been revoked but weren't. Sloppy IT transition. Jason. I accessed the company's email server one last time and scheduled a message to be delivered to every board member at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Subject. Before you approve Q2 bonuses, read this. Attached. My full report. Friday morning dawned clear and bright. I sat on my porch with coffee, watching the neighborhood wake up. No alarm clock. No commute. Just waiting. At precisely 8 a.m. My scheduled email delivered its payload to the board members. By 8:17, my phone began to ring. Numbers I didn't recognize, likely board members' assistants scrambling to reach me. I let them all go. To voicemail. At 9 a.m., the Emergency Finance Committee meeting would begin. Robert Chun would be there with my documentation in hand, watching reactions as my email was discovered and discussed. At 9:32, Stephen texted, "Police are here." Wilcox and Daniel being questioned in conference rooms. Phillips looking sick. "What did you do?" I didn't respond. The wheels were turning exactly as I'd anticipated. By 10 a.m., Meridian's general counsel called. Unlike the others, I answered this one. "Mr. Wilson, this is Patricia Graves from legal. We need you to come in immediately to discuss information you've provided to the board." "I'm available by phone," I replied. "This really requires an in-person discussion." "No, it doesn't," I interrupted calmly. "Everything I know is in that report. Everything I have is already backed up in multiple secure locations. If anything happens to me or my family, additional copies go to the SEIC, IRS, and 3 news outlets." Silence. "Mr. Wilson," she finally said, her voice carefully measured, "the board is taking this extremely seriously. They've already placed several executives on administrative leave pending investigation. They would appreciate your cooperation." "I've cooperated fully by providing complete documentation. My part is done." After she hung up, I drove to a diner 20 miles outside Columbus. No sense being easily found today. Over lunch, news began. Breaking on local business sites. Meridian Technologies executives under investigation for financial irregularities. No names yet, but that would come. At 2 p.m., Robert Chun called. "It's a bloodbath," he said without preamble. "Brian confessed once we confronted him with your evidence. Trying to cut a deal. Blaming Daniel for pressuring him. Daniel's denying everything. And Phillips claims he was just a consultant who had no knowledge of financial matters. Board isn't buying it. We've suspended all 3 pending further investigation. The money, forensic accountants are coming in Monday. Early estimates suggest at least $4.5 million diverted over 3 years. Maybe more." I nodded to myself. "I'd been close. The board wants to talk to you," Robert continued, "about coming back, not just to your old position. They're creating a new chief security officer role reporting directly to the board." I'd anticipated this possibility, but still found myself surprised. "I'll think about it," I said. That evening, I told Andrea everything. She listened without interrupting, then asked, "What do you want to do?" Good question. The revenge part was complete. The people who'd pushed me out were themselves being pushed out, likely facing criminal charges. Justice had been served cold and precise. But returning to Meridian meant walking back into the place that had discarded me after 17 years of service. Could I do that? Did I want to? "I need time to decide," I said finally. Later that night, I opened my laptop one last time and posted a single message to my otherwise dormant LinkedIn profile. Never burn bridges. Just let them collapse under the weight of their own greed. Within minutes, former colleagues began reaching out. Word was spreading. The quiet systems guy had brought down 3 executives without raising his voice. By Monday, everyone would know exactly who they'd underestimated. Monday morning, I walked into Meridian's headquarters wearing a suit I hadn't needed in years. The security guard did a double take, then quickly printed me a visitor badge. "Welcome back, Mr. Wilson," he said with newfound respect. The elevator ride to the executive floor was quiet. I'd never had reason to visit this level before. Now I was expected in the boardroom. 10 board members sat around a polished table. Robert Chun nodded slightly as I entered. The interim CEO, previously the Kuza, looked uncomfortable. "Mr. Wilson," she began, "thank you for coming. The situation you've brought to light is unprecedented." I remained silent. "The full extent of the fraud appears worse than initially reported," she continued. "The forensic team has identified nearly $5.2 million in diverted funds. Criminal charges are being prepared." Still, I waited. Robert cleared his throat. "Jake, the board has unanimously voted to create a new executive position, Chief Information Security Officer, full executive privileges, reporting structure directly to the board. We'd like to offer you the role." I set my folder on the table. "Inside, you'll find my conditions," I said. "Non-negotiable." The CEO opened it, scanning quickly. Her eyebrows rose. "Full audit authority across all departments. Independent budget. Veto power on financial technology decisions." I nodded once. "This is unusual," she said. "So is embezzling $5.2 million, I replied. "That happened because no one was watching. Now someone will be." The room fell silent. "You have until noon," I said, standing. "I have other offers." As I turned to leave, Robert asked, "Did you plan this all along, Jake?" I paused. At the door, "I didn't plan to be fired after 17 years. Everything after that was just me doing what I've always done, identifying system vulnerabilities and implementing appropriate security measures." At 11:47, they called. They'd accepted every condition. 6 months later, I sat in my new corner office reviewing security protocols for the upcoming quarter. The view overlooked the Columbus skyline, a daily reminder of how much had changed. Brian Wilcox had pled guilty to multiple fraud charges. In exchange for cooperation, he'd receive a reduced sentence, still significant. Daniel was fighting the charges, insisting he was unaware of the scheme despite the evidence. Jason Phillips had fled to Brazil, but was being extradited. The money had been recovered, most of it anyway. Enough that the company avoided serious financial damage. My former team now reported to me. Though I'd promoted Stephen to run day-to-day operations, the kid had potential. Just needed someone to see it. A knock at my door drew my attention. Andrea stood there, smiling. "Ready for lunch?" she asked. I nodded, grabbing my jacket. As we walked through the IT department, conversations quieted briefly. Not from fear, but respect. These people knew what had happened. Knew I could have destroyed the company instead of saving it. In the elevator, Andrea squeezed my hand. "Happy?" I considered the question. The anger that had driven me those first few days after being fired had faded. What remained wasn't exactly happiness, more like satisfaction, completion. "I'm good," I said. Outside, the October sun warmed our faces as we walked to a nearby restaurant. My phone buzzed with a message from Robert Chun. "Board approved. Your security budget increase." Unanimous vote. I smiled slightly. No arguments, no questions. Just trust. Andrea noticed my expression. "What is it?" "Nothing," I said, sliding the phone back into my pocket. "Just thinking about bridges. Some collapse under their own weight. Others, once repaired, become stronger than they ever were before. I built this one right this time."